Hallo, guten Tag German learners, and welcome back to another video on the German language. Today we're going to tackle the very tricky topic of German articles. Now, as you might know, in English it's super simple. We have just one word, the. Whereas in German you have der, die and das. Now, the very first thing to note, especially if you're a beginner, is don't even question this. You just have to learn it the way it is, but the good thing is that there are some rules that make this whole learning easier. Now, the first tip that I can give you is to never ever learn nouns without their article. Now, you can do this in many different ways. I personally like to use colours to distinguish the articles, so I use blue for the masculine, der, red or pink for the feminine, die, and orange or yellow usually for das. And the second thing that you can do is also use images. So I'm going to talk about mnemonics a little bit later, but first let's look at some simple rules that you can use to recall the articles of nouns. I haven't listed all of them down here, but for der, these are the suffixes that most masculine nouns end in. So, of course there are exceptions, but using these rules makes your life definitely a lot easier. So, first of all, for der, most words that end in ans are masculine. However, this is only the case if they have one syllable, like der Tanz. If they have more than one syllable, like die Toleranz, die Ignoranz, then they move to this category and are feminine. Then we have words ending in er. These are usually words like der Bäcker, der Müller, words that come from verbs essentially. Then we have ich, like der Teppich. So with or, like der Sponsor or der Autor. However, there are exceptions like das Labor, which is the neuter. Words ending in ismus, like der Kapitalismus, der Palast or der Ballast. Another thing to note is that all days of the week and months of the year are always in masculine. So it's der Montag, der Juni, der Juli. Then moving on to the feminine suffixes, 90% of German words that end in E are always feminine. So this is like die Seite, for example, die Tante. Another good thing to note is family members and people ending in IN, or in general, things like die Mutter, die Schwester, die Lehrerin are always in the feminine. However, there is one exception, and we'll get to that in a second. Then words ending in Halt, so die Sicherheit. Words ending in Kalt, die Einsamkeit. Ending in Schaft, like die Mannschaft, die Freundschaft, die Situation, die Versicherung, and the NIS ending for things that are states of mind, like die Erkenntnis. And our final category is the neuter, so das. So words ending in chen, like das Mädchen, which is the exception we talked about before, that the German word for the girl is in the neuter. Then Lein, Fräulein, which no one really ever uses. Ing, so these are borrowed words like das Training, das Timing. Ment, das Fundament. Tum, das Eigentum. And then words ending in this that don't express a state of mind. So words like das Ergebnis and das Zeugnis. And my final tip when learning vocabulary is to make it as vivid as possible. So things that are going to make it click in your brain. And one way of doing this is by using mnemonics. So mnemonics is basically when you learn words or vocabulary, instead of writing them down, using images and pictures that make it a lot more creative and easier for you to remember. So this is an example for when I was learning the word for die Mauer, so for the wall. And first of all, it's in red because that's the color that I associate with the feminine words. And I drew a wall with a lawnmower, which sounds like mower, those are mnemonics, and a woman driving the mower through the wall. So really the biggest tip is to get as creative as possible, and with that I wish you all the best with your German learning.